Hello and welcome to Situation Room on Citi TV. It's a show that does analysis for you of the trending political and current affairs issues of the week on Citi TV. My name, Umaru Sanda Amado, and as usual, I'm here with Sami. How are you doing, Sami?
Well, Sanda.
How is life treating you?
God is good.
Are you suffering from doomsor?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes. My lights were off at this morning. I was leaving home.
I've been told in your estate where you live.
No, I don't live in an estate. I don't live in an estate. I live in an ordinary residence.
So Fred was telling me lies.
Mr. John, he lives in an estate.
Yeah. So he told me that both of you live.
No, I don't.
Charlie, it be problem or doomsor it be problem. Please, when next are you seeing the president?
He's aware of it.
When next are you seeing him?
Probably tomorrow.
Please, when you see the president tomorrow, after you greet each other, tell him that I said the thing is stressing us. He should fix doomsor. We are begging him.
He's very much aware of the situation.
Please remind him.
The board chair of ECG, who happens to be a deputy minister for energy, Herbert Krapper, yesterday announced that doomsor will be solved in some few days because the issue had to do with fuel, and Ghana is getting some fuel supply from some other country to help augment what we have here. So the countdown has begun. He said he wasn't specific. He said some few days to come, doomsor will be over. So we are expecting those few days to come. So all these challenges will be over.
There was a big speech in Accra last night, and that speech talked about doomsor. So it is in order that we mentioned that, and it's actually something we're going to talk about when we come back. Not doomsor, but the person who gave the speech, the newly outdoored running mate of the National Democratic Congress. You're welcome. So on Wednesday rather, at the University of Professional Studies UPSA auditorium, former president, now flag bearer of the NDC, presidential candidate of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama, outdoored the person who's going to partner him in the elections of 2024. He repeated the ticket of 2020. So it was John and Jane in 2020, and it's going to be John and Jane in 2024. Except that they did an outdooring where they highlighted key issues around Professor Naana Jane Opoku-Agyemang, the former Minister for Education and former Vice Chancellor. They talked about the key things she's done in government and why she would be a better mate. And I'm not using mate in the sense that Bawumia used it, but a running mate to John Dramani Mahama. The former president himself introduced Professor Naana Jane Opoku-Agyemang at a ceremony that had a feminist, a woman advocate, an activist, if you like, a journalist, Shamima Muslim being the anchor. Subsequent to that, Professor Jane Naana Opoku-Agyemang mounted the stage and gave an address to NDC people primarily and also to Ghanaians. She threw a number of jabs. We're going to analyze that, talk about the things that she said, how she has changed over the period. The Professor Naana Jane Opoku-Agyemang of 2020 clearly looking very, very different from the one we are seeing now, a much improved Jane Naana Opoku-Agyemang, or a campaigner. We want to see her at the rally grounds, on the campaign trail, but what she did yesterday shows that she has seen a lot of improvement, a lot of change. We want to give you a flavor of what she said, and then we'll talk about it in studio. Stay with us here on the Situation Room on Citi TV.
I will share in our collective successes and share responsibility for our setbacks, if any. And at the time of reckoning, Your Excellency John Dramani Mahama, I will not, in the advancement of self-serving ambition, declare to the whole world that I was only the driver's mate. Thank you. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, before I go on to other important matters, please let me state my understanding of where we are as a country, as a nation, and the implications of what lay ahead. The election ahead is not so much about Ghana making history, although that is important. It is not so much about returning a competent president back to power. It is not even about producing the first woman vice president, historical and exciting though these are. It is not only about bringing the NDC back to power, although that is indispensable in our current circumstances. The elections ahead and winning them is about winning elections for a purpose. The purpose goes beyond those enumerated above. The purpose is the opportunity to heal our country again. It is about the opportunity to pull Ghana back from the precipice of destruction, of normalizing corruption, of incomprehensive greed, from deep despair. The election ahead and winning it for our party is about hard work and abiding sacrifice. It is to embrace everyone in building a Ghana that functions again. It is to work towards a Ghana where citizens have confidence and hope and are determined to regain their independence of thought and of agenda. We must work towards a Ghana that at the very least can feed itself. We know we can. We must work towards a Ghana where the law truly works, where there is shared prosperity, where democracy has not become a fluke, where people are not abused, and where the basic necessities of life are not denied the majority. It is a chance to work hard towards building a country where citizens do not feel disrespected or intimidated or ignored because of the way they vote or the language they speak. The election ahead is not so much about Ghana making history, although that is important. It is not so much about returning a competent president back to power. It is not even about producing the first woman vice president, historical and exciting though these are. It is not only about bringing the NDC back to power, although that is indispensable in our current circumstances. The elections ahead and winning them is about winning elections for a purpose. The purpose goes beyond those enumerated above. The purpose is the opportunity to heal our country again. It is about the opportunity to pull Ghana back from the precipice of destruction, of normalizing corruption, of incomprehensive greed, from deep despair. The election ahead and winning it for our party is about hard work and abiding sacrifice. It is to embrace everyone in building a Ghana that functions again. It is to work towards a Ghana where citizens have confidence and hope and are determined to regain their independence of thought and of agenda. We must work towards a Ghana that at the very least can feed itself. We know we can. We must work towards a Ghana where the law truly works, where there is shared prosperity, where democracy has not become a fluke, where people are not abused, and where the basic necessities of life are not denied the majority. It is a chance to work hard towards building a country where citizens do not feel disrespected or intimidated or ignored because of the way they vote or the language they speak. The victory we seek as a party is to invite everyone to the onerous task of rebuilding a broken Ghana, of restoring hope in a manner that the is capable of, and evidenced by its history and achievements, especially the recent ones under His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. My brothers and sisters, we are not in ordinary times. This is not news. Some of us have been around for a while and have experienced the to and fro of politics in Ghana. But never have we experienced the levels of greed, unbridled arrogance, unrestrained impunity, sheer dishonesty, barefaced hypocrisy, incompassion, as displayed by this incumbent government over the past 6 years and more. And distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the task ahead is formidable, much more than it was 4 years ago. When people ask me, why are you doing this? Let me explain. I remain inspired by the fact that as a people, we have faced terrible situations before. Check our history. Please don't begin with the Fourth Republic or the struggle for independence, although these are also important milestones. Go hundreds of years back. In those hard times, our forefathers and our foremothers too did not throw up their arms in despair. They fought back. They resisted. They sacrificed. They persevered. They brought back hope when there was none. They picked up the pieces of a broken people and carefully and strategically sewed them back. And they left for us a legacy of selflessness, of true patriotism and pride. It is our responsibility today to leave something better for the next generations. Giving up is not an option. We must all soldier on. Across the political divide, across social and professional groupings, among the youth, you hear complaints and stories concerning state capture, where this government has chosen to use its power not in the broader interest of all Ghanaians, but to favor a small clique. What is that? John and I have agreed that whoever has participated in the plunder of the state must be held accountable. And, my friends, this is not a threat. It is a promise. It is a promise which is premised on the wishes of our citizens across the political divide, and it is hinged on the principle of accountability. Let us face the facts. Today, what do we hear? is the promotion of ethnocentric elitism, which is masquerading as intellectualism. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is elitism masquerading as intellectualism. It is weakness strutting as courage, and crony capitalism masked as development in freedom. It is shameless hypocrisy pretending to be objective. These will never move our country forward. Rather, the most significant achievement of all these has been a country in near insolvency. Its natural resources such as water, land, and even the environment in rebellion. A people harassed and intimidated into numbness, and as some will say cynically, some of us also bribed into silence. I envisage a report on the administration of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama on the ticket of the NDC in his reign 2013 to early 2017. And I bet that the report will have no reference to the following: a multi-million dugout. I don't know about you, but the image I get looking at that hole is a trench in utter shock that anyone could believe it was intended as a Thanksgiving gift to the Almighty, invisible, God only wise. You will not find in his record a free SHS at war. The battle fought on the grounds of food, shelter, space, even calendar, teaching and learning materials, or those who spend a couple of weeks in school and many months at home just idling by. You will not find past questions instead of textbooks and science equipment. You will not find an atmosphere that suppresses learning. You will not find free water and electricity to a few that has turned out to be most expensive for everyone. Such a report will not find COVID money shared for partisan political campaign purposes. And all of this done when people were dying and they needed just a little bit of help. You will not find in his term an Ejapa-like manifesto. And you will not find him as president clearing malfeasance and writing love letters to prejudice a bad situation. You will not find that unemployment jumped from 8 to 14%. And actually check the figures. Check the actual figures. Go beyond the percentages. And you will not find a debt to GDP that has gone a wall, or a city that refuses to be tamed. Under his tenure, you will not find weak efforts to hide the truth of Dumsok.
So that's Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang, running mate of former President John Mahama in the next election. Sami, her speech, very powerful there in terms of her delivery. She did way better.
I was very impressed compared to 2020 when she was officially unveiled to today. There's significant improvement. The jabs were in there, the statement, what the NDC intends to do. She was in a position to explain some of the manifesto promises of John Dramani Mahama, the candidate of the party. Compared to 2020, you could see significant improvement. The jobs were there, throwing shades here and there. In 2020, we didn't see that much, but this time around, we are seeing. I want to compare her to Bawumia in 2008 when he was also nominated or selected as running mate to Nana Akufo-Addo. He was then new to the political space. He couldn't articulate the party's vision well. Same in 2012. But the 2016 election, he was a deadly person. He was a deadly guy. He was the go-to person when it comes to anything in economics or here and there. But this time around, comparing her to the professor, I see improvements from what she did in 2020 till now. I feel politics over the years, when you become if you switch from wherever you are and you become a politician, you will tend to grow. And I see that growth in her. Now she's a full-blown politician, now, if I want to describe it that way.
She's ready to do
She's ready to go on the ground and do this. But then again, people may ask that, it's different giving a speech on stage than going onto the ground to do the real work, the real campaign. When you mount the campaign podium, the campaign stage, you're not supposed to give this kind of speeches. You will tell them what really is on the ground, what you intend to do, and the likes like that. And so for the speeches on the big stages like this, it's always different from going on the ground. I admit to follow a candidate in the campaign process since 2008 till now. And so the local politics is always different from the national politics. And so when you go onto the ground, the communication is always different from the bigger stage.
Let's talk to someone who knows Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang very well. So Sami is saying there that she's not a regular politician until she was appointed. In fact, she was appointed Minister for Education. She didn't need to do politics in the sense of the word politics. And then she became running mate and she had to go on the grounds and do campaigning. And now she's been repeated, which is not something many people get the opportunity to be repeated by a presidential candidate. So let's speak to someone who knows her very well. Professor Ato Kwesi is an academic and also a friend of Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang. Prof, you're welcome to the Situation Room on Citi TV. For those who may not have followed her when she was education minister, don't know much about her, you know her quite well. Tell us how way back you know her and who is Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang?
Well, I've known Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang for about 25 years now, because we're both academics. And the first time I was invited by her when she was Vice Chancellor at Kivas to give a lecture there. And we became fast friends. And I've been following her career very closely since then. And there are many amazing qualities that she has that I'm happy to talk about. Hello, can you hear me?
No, sorry, I didn't hear you, Prof. If you could just repeat that.
Well, I've known her, Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang, for the past 25 years.
Okay.
When she was Vice Chancellor at Kivas. And I've followed her career closely since then. She's an amazing person. And I can share some of my impressions about her qualities.
Please do, because we want to know more about her. You know her, so please share. Yeah.
First of all, the first thing is her intelligence. But the intelligence is not just book intelligence or academic intelligence. She also has a lot of fiance, like deep wisdom. So that's the first thing.
Okay.
The second thing is her level of energy. The woman does not get tired. Believe me, she's one of the few people who never gets tired. And in this, she exemplifies one of the qualities of our best women in Ghana, which is that they have a world to change. So they don't have time for tiredness. She's like that. She has a world to change, to transform. So she's tireless in her efforts. But the final thing, which is perhaps the most important, is her integrity. This is not a kind of person who speaks from two sides of her mouth, in the sense that she says one thing from the left and another thing from the right. No, she's a person of integrity. What you see is what you get. Then perhaps the final point is that she does not admit impediments. She's someone that after half an hour talking to her, you come away feeling that anything is possible. She's absolutely magnificent.
I see. It sounds very inspiring there, but she's had to transition from the academic that you knew her some 25 years ago to a politician now first of all, as a minister who is not supposed to be politician in the right sense of the word, but now a running mate, definitely a politician. What do you make of the transition, and how has the transition been from where you sit and watching her?
Well, the thing is that some values never change. So the values that she carried as an administrator, as someone who solves problems, because that's another quality of hers. About being vice chancellor of a university is not a joke. She was the first woman vice chancellor. There's so many different types of problems that she had to deal with, big and small. She's a problem solver at heart. So that quality also goes with her. The other thing is that she really cares about people. You know, she's very humane, and she cares about people. Little, big, it doesn't matter what kind of person you are. She cares about people and their flourishing. She wants to see everyone flourishing. Now, those qualities, of course, now she has a larger stage, the public stage, to demonstrate those features that those of us who know her personally have always admired her for. The transition also is that as a politician, she has to address multiple constituencies. You know, as a university administrator, her main constituency was the students and the faculty. Now she has a wider canvas to address and to deal with, also contending, factions and interests. But she is, because of her fienyansa, not just her book wisdom, because of her fienyansa, she's a great listener. Again, she carries this from being a very effective administrator. She's a very good listener. So what I see is she's become more patient. Actually, this is very important. She become more patient. She takes a longer view of things. She's very consultative, but she takes a longer view of things because, of course, she has to consult more people. I don't see the transition as that dramatic. And it's not that dramatic to me watching her, because the qualities that she already had developed in very sophisticated ways when she was an academic administrator are the same qualities that she is demonstrating now.
Interesting. So my colleague and I, before you came on, were talking about how she has improved from the 2020 candidate or running mate to the 2024 running mate. The presentation we saw yesterday, remarkably different from what we saw 4 years ago. I don't know if you made a similar observation, and what else do you make of her speech watching her yesterday?
Okay, there is one very important difference between her speech now and her speech then. And that is now, and I think you and Riafe mentioned this, she now throws shade. There's a lot of straight up sharp shades.
Prof, I didn't expect you to know Gen Z language to use the throwing of shade.
Charlie, don't they throw shade hard?
I know, right? She did punch,
Charlie. But see, it's not her natural character. Her natural character is not to throw shade. That's not how she is as a person.
Okay.
She doesn't want to belittle anyone. But that's not how she. So in a way, her political language she has reoriented her political language. So she has adopted a style. Because the shade throwing is also a feature of political discourse, because shade throwing makes headlines. Academic discourse of however and nevertheless and so on does not make good headlines. So of course she's consulting people and so on. So that's one very important difference between then and now.
I want to engage you a bit more on that difference. Professor Mills, we've seen him never threw shades, never went combative, was always the Amide Miasumdwe. You would have said until yesterday that Prof was on the Prof's, kind of journey. But it appears she's moving away. For the better, for the worse, I don't know. You are her friend, but should she have remained the Professor Mills style, or it's good that she has rebranded?
The reason why she cannot remain Professor Mills is that she's not Professor Mills. She's Naana Opoku-Agyemang. She's her own human being, her own person. So she cannot. You cannot say that. Oh, because Professor Mills was a gentle, quiet guy, she also ought to be the same. I don't agree. The thing about the adoption of this new persona, shall we say, and it's a persona that she's adopted because, as I said, she's not the kind of person who belittles anyone. Even the people that she may be throwing shade against or on, if she encounters them personally, she'll be the most gentle and most generous person. The shade throwing is part of a political discourse, and so she's I think it's a persona she's adopted for more effective campaigning. When people, when the populace, the electorate, hear a politician, they want to take talking points home. And you can see that in her speech, she delivered many talking points.
I'm glad because that's what I intended to segue to. Which one was for you the biggest talking point yesterday?
The one that stuck in my mind most, and I have the speech here, was about the 24-hour economy.
Okay.
You know, that the economy would be transformed into a 24-hour economy, and through the adoption of shift systems across the board, will be more productive. I thought that was a very innovative idea. If they managed to implement it, it would be phenomenal.
Okay.
Because what it will mean also restructuring the economy largely, but that we have a lot of work and effort and capabilities. The other very important point is the 1 million coders. That's the second thing that I thought was quite amazing. 1 million coders, which is a development of tech, entrepreneurship, and also knowledge among the youth. Because actually, I personally hope to see, by the way, you didn't mention this, but I'm at Stanford University. I'm a professor at Stanford University.
Okay.
And Stanford is a major training for technologists and tech people and so on and so forth. The world, the way we are going, you know, it's important that our youth have access and knowledge to data science, coding, and so on. So those were the two things that I thought they'll be transformative. Yeah, they'll be absolutely transformative.
Lastly, what would a Vice President Professor Naana Jane Opoku-Agyemang be like if she became one?
Okay, again, I know her really well. First of all, she is very punctual. You know how in Ghana, when
Ghana man time.
No. She's not the kind of person who says she'll be there at 9 and then 11 o'clock she hasn't arrived. She's not like that.
Okay.
That's the first thing. The second thing is that she sets a really high standard for herself. And everyone around her is then required to lift their level up to the standard.
Okay.
But she's also very consultative. She listens. You know, I mean, when you go to talk to her about something, she's not opinionated in the sense that the woman and something like no. She's a good listener. One effect that I think she'll have is that everyone around her in the cabinet will have to raise their game. Because also she's a truth teller. If she thinks that you are slacking or you are not thinking properly, she's not the kind of person who will not call you aside and tell you. She'll tell you that, you know, my brother or my sister, you might want to think about this and that and so on. But because we all know that her own personal standards are so high, no one can take offense when they're being criticized by her. So I feel that now she's going to be vice president, the entire level of the cabinet will be raised to match her
status or her stature or what she looks up to.
Energy and
Very well.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Prof, for your time, and thanks for speaking to us.
You're welcome.
Professor Atokwe is in there. He's a lecturer at the Stanford University. He's a friend of Professor Naana Jane Opoku-Agyemang. He's also an academic, speaking to us on Prof's renomination as running mate and the speech that she gave last night at the UPSA when she was outdoored. This is the Situation Room on Citi TV. I am Umaru Sandamadu here with Sami Wiafi. When we come back, we have a quick poll, quick hot one coming out of the oven from Ejisu. You know that the by-election is coming up there. The MPP candidate going against a former MPP MP who is running independent. We'll talk about what the polls are looking like. Is the MPP comfortable or not? We have that story coming up in a bit. And then we hear from National Women Organizer of the NDC. They've chosen a woman as a running mate, what it means to the women folk of NDC, what it means to women in Ghana generally and worldwide. Stay with us.
Welcome back. This is still the Situation Room coming to you live from our studio here on Citi TV. The Electoral Commission announced that there's going to be a by-election in Ejisuman. We all know what happened in Ejisuman. The incumbent member of parliament for the area, Dr. John Kuma, passed. The EC announced the date, which is the 30th of April, to hold a by-election in that constituency to elect a new member of parliament for the area. The MPP held its primaries to elect a representative for them. Kwabna Boatin won eventually to represent their party in that election. NDC has decided not to contest this particular election. But a former member of parliament for the area who was defeated in the 2020 primaries by John Kuma the late has decided to contest as an independent candidate. The party says they are not worried. Already we've seen massive development in the Ejisuman area, road construction happening here and there. The Minister for Roads and Highways was in Ejisuman for like 2 or 3 days inspecting and ensuring that projects are completed before the by-election. Many people have said that this is what government does, every incumbent government does to win votes in that area. Ejisuman is a known MPP stronghold. So many people will ask, why would you want to send development to this area, which has traditionally voted for the MPP? Is it to tell them that you still have them in mind as far as election and their welfare is concerned? Well, Apostle Musa Dankwa has done some work in the Ejisuman constituency. He's going to tell us who is going to win or lose or what's going to happen. So
yes, go and get
Musa has joined us on Zoom to give us details. This just is happening, you know, just a few minutes ago. His people were on the ground. They are done with their work. Musa will join us on Zoom to speak to us on what really is happening in the Ejisuman constituency. Who is going to win? Is the MPP going to retain the seat, or the incoming member of parliament for the area may cause an upset as far as this 30th April, right, by-election is concerned, which is just Tuesday. Musa, thank you very much for your time. This time around, you're on Zoom, you're not in the studio with us.
Yes, I'm glad to be in my office.
Musa, you've been in Ejisuman. The election is on the 30th of April, which is just Tuesday. What have you found on the ground?
Thank you very much for having me. It's really, really interesting in Ejisuman. I think nobody would have thought that this election, MPP will be fighting for its survival in Ejisuman. The polls are shocking, indeed very shocking. As we speak, currently MPP is leading by a whisker. Less than the margin of error, 50.6% lead in the poll by MPP. And then you have Mr. Kwabna Agyemang, 47.5%, undecided 1.7%, Esther Osei 0.2%. This race is too close to call.
The MPP, ahead of this primaries, has said that the former member of parliament for the area may not pose a threat to them in any way. And in any case, he's just someone who is a sore loser, was defeated in the primaries, and there's no way the people there will consider him. But your poll says otherwise.
Definitely. What we have seen, in fact, is that the MPP again is divided. About 64% of MPP voters are voting for their own. About 34 are voting for Ejisuman. And effectively, Ejisuman is getting 95 support from NDC supporters, is getting close to 80% support, let me be precise, for floating voters. Let me just give you the precise numbers. He's getting 92% of NDC support. He's getting 66% of floating voters, 95% of other party supporters, and 60% of people who did not disclose the party affiliation. The only advantage MPP has is that they are leading among their own. Other than that, Ejisuman is leading across board.
Would it have been same if the MPP had decided to select a different candidate aside the Kwabena Boateng guy they selected?
I don't think so. I think it would have been different if Ejisuman hadn't contested. Ejisuman is the threat, and so long as he is in the race, and indeed NDC hasn't put any candidate forward, meaning that strategically NDC guys are rallying behind Ejisuman, and that is proving very deadly.
What can the MPP do to overturn this?
Oh, I mean, I think it will be, they are not losing the seat. They are leading by within the margin of error,
I'm here.
50.6% or so. The lead is not comfortable. And from what we know from polling, if you are leading within the margin of error, it could go either way. So statistically, this race is a tie.
Sir, I have seen your work, but I'm sure our viewers may also want to see the details of all this that you went through in the Ejisuman constituency. Could you put out the slide so at least we can know where all this is happening?
How many people?
How many people, the sample size, the margin of error, and the likes?
Yeah. I think my screen should be allowed. I can't share my screen. I think somebody should allow me to share the screen so you can see the data that we've collected this afternoon.
So, Musa, for what we have here, there were a number of questions you posed to these individuals. So for instance, the areas of, let's say, the age group. So the age group was between 35 to 40, 25 to 35, 45 to 54, 18 to 24, 55 to 64, and then 64 plus. And then from the graph we have here, looks like the age gap between 35 and 44 was the highest voter turnout in terms of the poll, those who are going to vote in this election.
Yeah.
Let's look at the education.
You know, I mean, it's, okay. Now, if you look at the educational background, about 56% of the respondents had senior high or have senior high education. 22% have tertiary education, 30% junior high, and 8% have no formal education. And then when you come to party affiliation, about 68% of the respondents were self-identified MPP. 16% were floating voters. 9% were NDC. 6% did not disclose their party affiliation, and 2% support other smaller parties. And then when you come to other matrix that were quite interesting, in the Ejisuman constituency, 69% of voters approve of the performance of the president. He enjoys almost 70% approval. Disapproval is 30%, and 1% did not have opinion. And then if you look at the people standard of living in Ejisuman, 56% said it has improved compared to the last 12 months. 25% said it has gotten worse, and then 19% said it was unchanged, and 1% had no opinion. And then when we asked them whether the projects the government is undertaking currently influence their vote, 63% said yes, it will influence their vote. 32% said no, it wouldn't influence their vote, and 5% said they were neutral about that development. And then when we asked them what action they would take if they were offered inducement to vote for a candidate, 33% said they would accept the inducement and vote for the candidate. 32% said they would accept and vote against the candidate. 21% said they would reject and vote against the candidate, whereas 13% said they would reject and still vote for the candidate. So these were some of the responses we got from Ejisuman before we asked them who they intend to vote for. And they told us that 50.6 Kwabena Boateng MPP, 47.5 Kwabena Ejisuman independent, undecided 1.7%, and extra or say 0.2%. The rest were on zero.
My final question before Umaru comes in, would there have been any difference if the NDC had decided to contest this particular by-election?
Yes, that would have meant that the vote that was going to Ejisuman would have gone to NDC candidate.
Musa, I noticed you have a slide where you talk about electoral areas. What was that about? What are you trying to let us know?
We're just telling voters where exactly we went to in Ejisuman electoral areas. And indeed, the slides further will show you which electoral area is being won or being led by candidate A or B. For example, if you look at in Abinasi, you have Kwabena Boateng, 57%, Eduemi 41%. If you come to Aduan Kokrofrum, 61% for Kwabena Boateng and 37% for Eduemi. So the data is there for all to see exactly what each candidate is doing where in the out of the 19 areas we went.
So, but the map looks okay, green and red and then blue. What are these? What do these colors represent? I'm confused. Is it blue for MPP, green for NDC, red for?
Yeah, no, blue for MPP, the lemon green for the MPP's the independent candidate, and then Esther, I think it's red also.
Okay.
And
So that's how it's. But graphically presenting it, the results that you got looks like a neck and neck kind of thing, 47-50. But this is a very comfortable one, isn't it?
No, it is not, because each area has different number of voters. So you could win by a huge margin in an area with a small number of voters, whereas in other areas where there are large voters, you lose. So the weight of the area counts for the differences in terms of the overall outcome.
So to summarize what you are saying that if elections were to be held today, based on the polling that you have returned with, the MPP candidate would win, but he would win with by the whiskers, as you said.
Absolutely, by the skin of his teeth.
By the skin of his teeth. What that means is that if the independent candidate works extra hard, it may be an upset for the NPP candidate.
Very likely, because the difference between Kwabena Eduemi and Kwabena Boateng is less than the margin of error, which is 3.something%. So this means that this race will go either way. Nobody can sleep.
We still have,
or should sleep.
We have a few days to election, about some 5 days to the election or 4 days to the election. Are there chances that your graph would be distorted by Tuesday when they come back? Because, you know, the issue of polls is that we always want to look at the credibility of the polls. So by this Tuesday evening, how confident are you that the results that are going to come are going to look 47-50-ish and not 78 or 80-20-ish?
It will not be 80, 70, 20, 30. No, absolutely not. I think if MPP gets 60%, they would have outperformed the poll numbers.
You don't think the MPP would make up to 60%?
No.
Even though Ejisuman is a traditionally MPP seat?
Look, if you have 35% of your own base voting for the other candidate, that is the problem. Unless they can whip every MPP to be in line, this will be a very difficult election for MPP in Ejisuman.
Interesting one. Sami, wrap up with him.
Musa, thank you very much for your time. As they say, time will tell. We wait for Tuesday, the day of the by-election, and we'll definitely know the outcome of it. Thank you very much, Musa. Thank you. Musa Dankwa is a pollster. He's been with us here a couple of times, you know, bringing our polls here and there. The last one you just heard is happening in the Ejisuman constituency, where on Tuesday, the by-election will take place to replace the new member of parliament for the area, or John Kuma Doctor, who passed away somewhere in March. This is still the situation. We'll go for a quick break. We'll be back.
You're welcome back. This is the Situation Room on Citi TV. If you're just joining us, we've played for you the speech of Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang. She's been outdoored as running mate of John Mahama into the elections of 2024. We've done an interview with Professor Ato Kwesin, a friend of hers who is a lecturer at the University of Stanford. He gave us some perspectives to who Professor Jane really is and what he expects her vice presidency to be like. And moments ago, we're speaking to Musa Dankwa. He is with Global Info Analytics, sharing with us a poll that he has just pulled out of the ovens of Global Info Analytics, where he's saying to us that if, based on everything he has gathered, the MPP candidate in the Ejisuman election is threatened by the Honorable Eduemi,
the former member of parliament for the area.
Former
he's
deputy
been a three-time
minister
MP,
so
former deputy minister for
he's
roads.
going independent. Based on the polling that Musa is getting from the grounds, he's doing as well as 47%, and the MPP candidate being at 50%. Now, because parliamentary elections is first past the post, it's easy to say that the MPP candidate can win with the results coming that way. But the margin of error that Musa does the calculation for makes the margin very, very slim. So he uses a term, he would win by the whiskers. That's what he says. Now, if he does a lot more work, and I mean Eduomi, he may cause an upset. Mind you, the NDC doesn't have a candidate. As likely the NDC will be supporting Eduomi in the constituency. Most
definitely, because they may want the MPP candidate not to win. Ejisuman is a stronghold of the MPP, and so anything less than a major win, for the MPP may cause really a major upset for the MPP. The MPP may think that, is a cool job for them, but with the inclusion of the former member of parliament for the area, they should, do things well. Road construction is currently underway. But Umar, my problem, why do they always wait till by-election before they undertake projects within constituencies?
Because the constituency is forgotten until there's a by-election. That's when the constituency is remembered. And by-elections are very crucial. And that's why I'm I'm actually disappointed that NDC is not contesting. Because if they want to test their smoothness level, this is where to test their smoothness level.
But you don't test your level with a constituency not to be a stronghold of your
Exactly.
opponent.
But you see, you would want to see by how many votes you win or you lose by. So I remember what happened. As in North, they were looking at how many votes MPP lost by to make a point that MPP is becoming unpopular. So even if they lose Ejisuman, they would see how many extra votes they gained, and that would be for political reasons. They could use that for campaign purposes. It can even help us gauge the mood and see how the grounds are looking. But that's for Ejisuman. So the election is on 30th April, next week, Tuesday. Wait to see what happens there. But there's something happening in Ladadekotopon in Accra.
Well, on Saturday, they will vote to elect a new parliamentary candidate for
this coming Saturday.
This coming Saturday, 27th. To elect a new parliamentary candidate for the area. The one
also
who was
for
elected,
MPP.
Also for MPP. Mm-hmm. The old one who was elected, Dr. Joseph Gerald Tete, resigned for personal reasons. He will not state why he resigned, but he said for personal reasons. And so it gave room for two candidates or two individuals to file their nomination. So as of the close of nomination, only two people have filed. Joseph Ado, who is the president's personal driver, has been with him for over 20 years and counting, and still the president's driver. And then the MC for the area, Solomon Nikote, who is the municipal chief executive for the Ladadekotopon municipality. So these two individuals were slagged out on Saturday.
Wait, the president's chauffeur?
The president's driver, currently, Joseph Ado, is the one contesting in this primaries of Saturday.
So when the president is moving around now, who's been driving him? Because if the guy becomes an MP, what happens? Presidential...
The president is leaving after this election.
So this is personal driver whom he came into government with?
Yes, he's been his driver since he was minister for Attorney General under Kufo. So Joe has been his driver
So he's a politician?
Driver cum politician.
And he's contesting MP parliamentary primaries
in the Ladadekotopon constituency. The election is this Saturday.
If he wins, so right now means I'm sure he's taking leave to go and campaign because he can't be driving the president.
I saw him yesterday. There was an event at Kempinski yesterday, and he drove the president there.
Oh, yeah.
So I asked him that, are you not going down to go and campaign? He said I shouldn't worry. His boys are doing the job for him.
You are joking. Wow, that's very interesting.
So if he wins on Saturday, then he will become officially the president, the party's parliamentary candidate for Ladadekotopon. Then you would then ask, will he continue to drive the president, or he will now resign as the president's driver to go and campaign in the constituency? That question, he may be able to answer them in the event of the outcome of Saturday. But he's confident. I spoke to him. He's very confident of winning. He said he's helped the party in so many ways in that particular constituency. He's helped the boys get jobs. He's put a number of people in the public sector and the rest. I spoke to the MC as well, Solomon. Solo says he's been the best MC continuously since he was appointed. And when you look at this, he said there's a league table for district in performances. The municipality is always in the top 5. And they've retained that position ever since his appointment. He's a grassroots person. He's been with the party. He's been with them. And so he's also very confident of winning on Saturday.
Charlie, so the competition between the chauffeur and the chief. We'll see what comes out of Ladadekotopon NPP primaries. While at that, We are looking at a competition between the MPP candidate and the former MPP candidate in Ejisu. We'll see what happens on Tuesday. But the one in La, we'll see the smoothness level this Saturday. But that's how we end today's edition of The Situation Room on Citi TV. I am Umaru Sanda Amadu, and
my name is Sami Wiafe.
We'll be back next week on Citi TV. It's your world. Keep watching.